Hey guys, how's it going? I am Danconia and welcome back to the Overwatch League Roundup. Yes, week 4 of the Stage 3 of Overwatch League has been and gone, and we have our results, and there's some interesting ones. We'll get to the bottom one eventually, which was a really good game, might I say. But first of all, we're going to start off with Shanghai Dragons, taking on the unbeaten Boston Uprising. This is no surprise that this is a win for Boston. They are still unbeaten at this point. Shanghai do take a map though, and they look pretty good. Dia's getting back to that stage 1 form, where he was by far like the outstanding player on Shanghai, and he was playing that Widowmaker on Route 66. He looked really good. I think it was Route 66. I hope it was Route 66, because that's going to make me look really stupid if it wasn't. Yeah, it was Route 66. And that was the map they won. So, Shanghai, again, are improving, but they're not there quite yet. And if I do sound a bit weird, then it's because I'm slightly ill. So, yeah, and I know about Contenders Roundup. It's coming. It's coming. Los Angeles Valiant taking on the Houston Outlaws. Valiant, they started off the stage really well, then they had a bit of a dip. They lost to London. I think it was London. I hope it was London. My head's all over the place this week, believe me. They lose 3-1 to Houston. Now, that's not critically bad for Valiant, but if they had won that, that would have nigh on guaranteed their playoff spot. So, it's neither here nor there. I think Valiant will get there anyway. Then we have the Dallas Fuel taking on the Florida Mayhem. Dallas Fuel in all sorts of trouble right now, and they don't have effect. He's back in Korea, and he's having the time of his life. So, it's a really sticky situation for Dallas Fuel right now. They've been mixing up the roster again. Coco's back after Stage Plus not being in the team at all, and they're starting to rotate Coco and OGE on certain maps. But they lose 3-1 to the Florida Mayhem. This means Fuel will most likely finish second bottom of the stage standings. And Florida Mayhem, this shows improvement. Gladiators taking on the London Spitfire. London Spitfire. London. They beat Valiant, but that's about it. In terms of this stage, they've looked poor. And with Birdwing's injury, Hureg needs to step up. And so far he hasn't done so. They lose 3-2 to the Gladiators. Of course it goes to a map 5, and if it goes to a map 5, London lose map 5 generally. So, yeah. Stage 4 should be better for the Spitfire, because the map pool has been announced, and Oasis is in the map pool, but it's not your tiebreaker map. The tiebreaker map is not announced yet, I don't think, but it should be better for London next stage than it has been this stage, because of course if it goes to a map 5 for London, generally they lose this stage. Shock versus the Excelsior. No surprises Excel win this one, but Shock do take a map. It's 3-1 to Excel. Excel continue on their rampage across the league, although they're not top of the stage standings this time. What a change that is. Seoul Dynasty taking on the Philadelphia Fusion. I predicted a Fusion win for this one, because I don't think Seoul's look that good. But Seoul do grind out a 3-2 win over Fusion. Yeah, Fusion have had a massive dip in form since their stage 2 playoff final. Yeah, they're up and about, but they're not quite as good as they were in stage 2. They're looking a bit offish, and the game later on we'll talk about when we're talking about Fusion, and they're off kind of like stage right now. Dallas Fuel in action again against the Boston Uprising this time. Never an easy game to go up against Boston Uprising in a stage. 4-0 to Dallas Fuel. 4-0 to Boston Uprising, sorry, not Dallas Fuel. Jesus. Predicting Dallas Fuel to win? No. Because honestly, I think Shanghai could beat Dallas at the moment. Boston continuing their unbeaten run. It's, I think, 8 games now. I think, don't quote me on that, but I think it's about 8 games. Crazy stuff, dudes. Boston are just... Can anyone stop them right now? Even Excelsior lost to them earlier in the stage. Gladiators taking on the Houston Outlaws. Again, a very close game, but it's a 3-2 to the Gladiators. Houston with a bit of work to do in terms of their season playoffs. But again, there's a whole other stage for that, and they have a bit of work to do to try and get into those stage 3 playoffs, which are wide open right now. Valiant taking on the Florida Mayhem. No surprises here that Valiant get the win here, but it is a 3-1. Florida get a map. But again, Florida looking a cut below those Valiant, Houston, and above ranks, if you see what I mean. They're not quite up there yet, whereas Shock may have made the leap into like the Houston kind of bracket. Talking of Shock, yes, I did just type them up, and yes, they did lose 4-0 to London Spitfire. I honestly thought this would be closer. That's not a joke. I made that joke on Twitter last night. I did not mean to say... yeah, I expected this to be a lot closer, and it wasn't. London looked very good, and this is the first game where I've seen Hureg pop off, and he really did pop off. His defensive tracer on second point goal Scar was insane. His Widowmaker finally got some jobs done. His McCree on Ilios did really well. He got player of the match, I believe. So, if Hureg can put in performances like he did there, and he is capable of it, then London are okay. London are absolutely okay, but they need him to put in these performances, and I believe Birdwing is returning very soon. Seoul Dynasty taking on the New York Excel. Again, I expected this to be closer, but it's a 4-0 to Excel. Excel basically sealing, I think they have actually sealed their stage playoff place. Seoul, again, a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. We expected them to be so much better than this. And it's a shame, it's a shame. But then, we get on to the match of the week. I can't believe I'm saying that. Shanghai Dragons taking on the Philadelphia Fusion. This was close. Unbelievably close. The first map looked like, yeah, Fusion are going to win this. Then, Shanghai. Good old Shanghai come in and say, hey, we're going to win on Blizzard World. And they looked good. They really did look good on Blizzard World. And then we go to Nepal. Now, this was close. This is where the game could have changed. Nepal was extremely close, and if a few tiny things had changed, Shanghai would have won that map. They would be 2-1 up going into Junkertown. And on Junkertown, Shanghai beat Philadelphia Fusion on Junkertown 3-0. Fusion didn't even get the first point, whereas Shanghai took it all the way through the map. And at this point, it's 2-2 going into Oasis. Yeah, Fusion stamp on them, to be quite honest, on Oasis. But this was a very close match. That's why you can see it in the background. And this shows real promise for Shanghai. Yes, Fusion were very lethargic. But Shanghai looked good. Shanghai looked good. And if they play like this, Gaguri was popping off, Dio was popping off, even Fearless and that, we're getting jobs done this time. And the supports have improved, you can see that as well. If Shanghai play like this against someone like the Dallas Fuel, they will beat Dallas Fuel. I can tell you that now. And if they play like this against Florida, they'll take Florida very close. So, that's it for those fixtures, with Shanghai losing 3-2 to the Philadelphia Fusion. We will look at our stage standings. Who's on top? Guess what? It's Boston. With that 8-0 record. Can anyone beat them? Are they stage champions elect? It would be nice to see. It would be nice to see someone winning each of the different stages. Someone different winning each different stage. Because we've had London winning stage 1, Excel winning stage 2, someone different winning stage 3, and then someone different winning stage 4, hopefully. That'd be really nice. So Boston on top, New York Excel in second. Those two are guaranteed a playoff place. It just depends whether they finish. Valiant are in third with a 6-2 record. They can fall out of those playoff places, but it's highly unlikely. Oh, no, actually, hold on. It's mathematically impossible. Because of their map differential? Actually, no, it's not impossible. Because if they lose 4-0 in both their matches, they will go down to a map differential of 5. So it is possible. It's highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. Even if they lose both matches, as long as they like 3-2 them, then they should be in those playoffs. So we're looking at Uprising, Excelsior and Valiant right now. Then it comes down to the 4th place. Currently you have Gladiators in there with a 5-3 record. But Gladiators have been looking a bit on the edge right now. Then below them you have 4 teams on a 4-4 record. These include the Houston Outlaws, the Philadelphia Fusion, the Seoul Dynasty, and the San Francisco Shock. All of these have a good chance of getting in those playoffs. A very good chance. London are 9th. They are not out of it, believe it or not. And the 4-0 against Shock really does help them. The problem is, they need Gladiators to lose both of their games next week. And they need Shock, Dynasty, Fusion and Outlaws all to lose next week. At least one game. And then they have to win both of their games. So, and then it comes into map differential. It's very unlikely that London reach the playoffs, but it is still mathematically possible. There are 3 teams that mathematically can't reach it. Those are Florida Mayhem, Dallas Fuel, and Shanghai Dragons. So rip for their stage. Who do I think will get in there? I can't say. It's too close. Who would I like to see in there? London or Shock? Who do I think it will be? Gladiators. There you go. There you go. But Gladiators with a +5 map differential really opens it up. In terms of the overall standings, we have Excelsior on top, what a blooming surprise. Boston Uprising now have 20 wins on the board and are second. London have reclaimed their 3rd spot after losing to the Gladiators. Seoul in 4th with their poor form right now. Both on an 18-10 record, I'd have you know. Los Angeles Valiant in 5th and Fusion in 6th with a 17-11 record. Then you have Houston in 7th, just outside the season playoff places with a 16-2 record. Gladiators in a 15-13 record. Did I say 16-2 or 16-12? 16-12 for the Houston Outlaws. 15-13 for the Gladiators in 8th. San Francisco Shock with a 10-18 record in 9th. Then Fuel with a 6-22 record, equal with Mayhem in the 11th place with 6-22. And then you have Shanghai Dragons. 0-28. That could easily be 1-27 right now. And they have 99 map losses. It's highly likely that they will be getting their 100th map loss of the season next week. Excelsior are 91 map wins, I'll have you know. So this could get interesting. But there are some things that have happened. Mathematically, Shanghai cannot get to the season playoffs now. 5 weeks, 2 games, 10 games in stage 4, 12 games left of the season. If Mayhem and Fuel lose their games next week, they will be mathematically impossible to reach the season playoffs. And yeah, we're kind of getting to the business end of things right now. Let's have a look at the fixtures. Fixtures for week 5. It's playoff week, boys. Thursday, May the 3rd, we have Philadelphia Fusion taking on Dallas Fuel at midnight. I believe that will be a Fusion win. At 2 AM, we have the Florida Mayhem taking on the Gladiators. A must-win game for the Gladiators. They win that, they almost secure their playoff space. Houston Outlaws at 4 AM taking on the Shock. Big Stage 3 playoff implications. Whoever wins that probably knocks the others out of the running. In fact, actually, if Gladiators win, and then the winner of either Outlaws or Shock still has a chance, the loser of Outlaws or Shock is out of the Stage 3 playoff place. Playoff run. I think Shock can do it. Then Shock take on the Mayhem on Friday, May the 4th at midnight. That should be a Shock win. 2 AM you have Boston Uprising taking on the Valiant. Not easy for Valiant. I think Boston will win that. And then at 4 AM you have the Fuel taking on Excelsior. It's Excelsior win there, surely. Sunday, May the 5th at midnight you have the Gladiators taking on Boston. This is the game that Gladiators most likely drop and allow teams to get in on, right? If Shock win against Outlaws, and win against Mayhem, and Gladiators lose to Boston. Then Shock have a chance. But I think Shock have to 4-0 one of those matches. That actually. Yeah, they do. It's going to come down to map differential for that one. At 2 AM you have the Excelsior taking on Shanghai. Yeah, Shanghai might take a map, but Excelsior should win that. 4 AM you have Spitfire taking on Seoul. Big game for Spitfire, big game for Seoul. At 9 PM you have the Shanghai Dragons taking on London. Again, London not looking as good, but London should win that one. At 11 you have Seoul taking on Houston. Big playoff implications. If Houston beat Shock, I think Houston will be in your playoffs. If Houston can go 2-0 this week, they'll be your playoffs, I think. They'll be your 4th playoff spot. Because I think Gladiators will lose to Boston. So, the last game of the stage will be on Sunday, May the 6th at 1 AM. Valiant taking on Fusion. Again, massive implications for Fusion. Yeah, we'll leave it there for that. And then obviously you have Stage 3 title maps. Stage 3 title map. Matches. Oh my god, we'll get there in a minute. At 9 PM you'll have the first semi-final. At 10 PM, at 11 PM you'll have the second semi-final. These will be on Sunday, and then on Monday, May the 7th at 1 AM you will have your final. Could be anyone, boys. I would expect Excelsior. I would like to see an Excelsior Boston final, but it could be anyone. It really could be anyone. So, and there's also 4 people. Remember that. That's why there's 2 semi-finals this time. There's 4 people who can get into it. Boston obviously will play a semi-final. They get to pick who they play. So, yeah, that's how it works in terms of the playoffs right now. Yes, I think we've covered all we needed to cover. But next week's a crucial week for also season playoffs for Fuel and Mayhem. Fuel are not really expected to get there, nor Mayhem, so yeah, it's kind of a rip on them. I think Shock needs to start winning games against Florida Mayhem and Outlaws this week if they want to hope for season playoffs. And they need other people to lose games as well. So it's not an easy path for Shock to get to the season playoffs right now. But it's doable. Highly doable. Plus, next stage, everything could change. Because I believe next stage we'll be playing on the live competitive patch for Season 10. That includes Brigitte. So everything could change, depending on how strong Brigitte is and competitive. We'll get early signs of that today and going in this week and next week. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then!